It's about Severance Season 2, Episode 8. This is the shortest Severance episode, by the way. I was wondering that, and I was like, what would they possibly do in this episode? But we have our episode, and I will say it is very different from the rest. A lot of people I see already are kind of mad online, but I'm going to tell you, this I think was a great thing to do. It's great to really take it back and really see the larger picture. And I think in the overall arc of Severance, this does tell us a lot. So first and foremost, this is just heavily focused on Cobell. That's all pretty much the episode is about. And what we see here is she takes us back to the past. She takes us where it all began, which is her hometown, which Lumon took over at a certain point. And apparently she was part of a child labor thing. But most importantly, we find out a very important and crucial detail about the Severance and Lumon technology that is used. So before we get into all of that, hit the subscribe button, notification bell. We will have theories on what's coming next because this episode does leave us on a bit of a cliffhanger. So stay tuned for that. That will be a video that comes out later in the week. But let's talk about everything that happened in this episode and what do we think about that ending. So pretty much this episode just starts off with Miss Cobell coming into her old town where she used to be, working for Lumon, where she grew up, all of that, and she meets with an old colleague of hers who's kind of resents everything that Lumon has done. He's never left the town or anything, right? And this is a town that's deteriorating. It's pretty old looking, no hope in anywhere you look. It is just a hopeless town. And Cobell kind of feels some type of way about this, I feel. And I think after everything that has happened in the previous episodes with the Egans and of course what Kier came to do in this town and all of that, I think that we see that Cobell's kind of feeling a little bit some type of way about the whole thing with the severed program and Kier and the Egans, and might want a little bit of retribution, revenge, or to get hers back, right? For everything that they've done to her and how they're treating her now at this point. So when she arrives at the town, she wants to go to her aunt Sissy and she wants to look for something there. And there we quickly realize that her aunt kind of is in tune with Kier. She really is a devout follower of what Kier has taught. And we see the opposite with Miss Cobell, who is very much so against Kier now and Lumon and all of that. And she's here to look for something. She doesn't say exactly what that is yet. We find out quickly that her mother had died due to some breathing issues and things like that she had. We don't know exactly the root of it all, what it really was, but one can infer from everything that we were shown in this episode that a lot of what took this town and destroyed it, including the people and all of that, is this factory, whether that's from the fumes that were coming out or the pollution, all of that. It looks like that was a direct link to what happened to Miss Cobell's mother in the past, and her aunt had been taking care of her, and she kind of resents her aunt in a way as well for feeling that she is the one who sort of pulled the tube out of her mother from breathing and things like that. And her aunt's kind of like, well, you weren't here, I was the only one with her, so what else do you want to happen, right? And it really goes into a back and forth, which I thought was great. It really felt like a play at times as most, which I really do love when Severance feels a bit different and feels like a whole different show at times, and it was great for me. But basically we see that Miss Cobell is here to find the blueprints for everything she designed, apparently, from the overtime contingency to the Glasgow block and the severed program and things like that. It seems that Miss Cobell was the one behind it all, and she was sort of pushed to the shadows by Lumon and Kier and the Egans and things like that, because they said that anything must be shared and that it should be Kier's and the Egans, and they share it with. So Miss Cobell has never gotten the recognition she deserves for coming up with the severed program. So that's pretty much where it all ends, right before Devon finally gets that phone call answered. She had been calling Miss Cobell, hitting up that line the whole show, and I was just like, I don't know if she's ever going to answer, but she finally does. And she tells Miss Cobell, hey, Mark's awake and he's been reintegrating and he has a lot to tell you. And we quickly see that Miss Cobell says, tell me everything, as the episode ends. So pretty much what we got from this episode is a bit of a backstory of Miss Cobell. She was a child worker for Lumon. The Egans took advantage of her, had her design work around the severed chip and things like that they would use later on and are using today. Miss Cobell probably knows the ins and outs of reintegration, and we probably will see her reintegrate Mark. And she does have the blueprints and everything for her design, so I'm pretty sure we're about to see something happen here where maybe Miss Cobell's not really feeling Mark like that, right? She doesn't really want to help him, but he can be an instrument for her to take down Lumon, who she feels has betrayed her at this point. I think that's what we're probably going to see in the last two episodes, because we have 2 episodes left of Severance, and we probably will see a sort of a team up of sorts, unholy alliance if you want to call it, between Mark and Cobell, maybe Regaby, and I think that we definitely get Mark and his innie reintegrated by the end of the episode. I was thinking Cold Harbor as well with the landscape and stuff, and I'm curious about what exactly Cold Harbor is. We will get those answers according to a lot of people's theories, though. I also thought it was interesting to show Miss Cobell as well as being a very, like, in her feelings, right, about her mother and things like that. For the most part, she had been cold. She had been this character that you don't even think had any feelings, but we quickly see she does have a soft spot for her mother and is like on the tube that her mother used. I thought that was a very heartbreaking scene to watch. Overall, beautiful episode, beautiful landscape as well. Newfoundland apparently is the place where they filmed this, but yeah, we see that her aunt Sissy wanted to burn the files, and I think this is because her aunt sort of sees Kier and their values and what they teach almost so religiously. And it's like Miss Cobell with these files now, it sort of takes the magic away from Kier and all of that and showcases just how much of a fraud and a phony they really are. And it's like a lot of businessmen today that seem to say, hey, I started this company and I made this company and everything and all of that, but they just had a lot of money for it. And really, it's the designs of the hardworking people, the engineers and things like that, not really the con man that's like a billionaire that's fronting the company who is this genius, but they're just have the money. That's pretty much it. Hey, we see it a lot today, especially somebody who's been in the spotlight for a bit now. But nonetheless, we're here to talk about Severance. So the next couple of episodes should be interesting. I'm very excited to see what exactly Miss Cobell will do with Mark. She will help him reintegrate as well, and what that means going forward. I think that the Egans are definitely going to be sweating now that they know Cobell has all of this information and intel, and it's going to be in the last 2 episodes that are going to be very interesting, and I'm already hyped for season 3. Let me know what you think about this episode. I know a lot of people found it kind of boring, but pretty much what we saw here is Cobell went back to her hometown. We find out that she was working for Lumon, maybe not by her own choice. Lumon kind of drained all of the resources from this like little town, and even the people drained them and used their labor to do their advancement for whatever it is that they want to do, because we still don't know what Lumon wants to do. And the big twist is that Miss Cobell was the engineer, the designer behind the Severed program, the chip, and everything else around it. But Egans said, you have to share this, and you cannot come out and say you did it. It looks like Cobell's like, I'm going to be doing whatever I want now, and I'm going to tell the world I did this. Or maybe she's just going to try and reintegrate all of the severed people. I don't know. She has a plan, but we'll see what it is. Comment below your thoughts, your opinions on what happens next. Stay tuned for the theory videos next week when we get a teaser and we get some more information about the next episode. 2 episodes to go. Very excited to talk more Severance with you. Make sure you follow us. Let's get to 40,000 subscribers. South by Southwest is coming up. Tons of things to talk about then, but also very, very, very excited for what's coming. As always, I'll see all of you next time. Hit that subscribe button and notification bell on the road to 40K. Follow us on our social medias, Instagram, TikTok, www.culturalelixir.com. I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.